You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact. Hello and welcome to another very interesting show today. We have Kling as our guest, and he's a Gen X business mentor and serial entrepreneur. He's the CEO of the Aaraya Group and author of Outwork Them All. And he's also committed to helping leaders scale their businesses and dominate their industries. Welcome, Jeanne.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure because today, Jeanne is going to share the secrets of private insurance adjusting as well as some other things, because we were chatting earlier and I was fascinated by the stuff he was telling me that I did not know. So Jeanne, let's start hearing these secrets that you know.
Sure. I mean, there's so many things that are involved with insurance adjusting and public insurance adjusting. Really, we're the best kept secret in the insurance industry. Most people don't even know that we exist. We exist 46 of the 50 states, plus some of the territories like Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, where you can actually hire your own insurance adjuster to negotiate an insurance settlement on your behalf instead of just going by what the insurance company offers or what they say. And this ranges in a myriad from property insurance, commercial property insurance, automobiles, boats, RVs, aircraft, pretty much anything that is what they call a first party property, meaning you versus the insurance company. Things like health insurance, that type. You can adjust those claims in certain states like Utah, but it's very, very rare. But I want to focus in mainly on what they call first party property insurance. And that's kind of like, we're just a really good secret in the industry, and we can get people a lot of money.
Okay, so what it is you're not lawyers, but it's kind of like you're a representative, like a lawyer, renegotiating what's going on. So let's give an example, because we were talking about Florida and the hurricanes, remember?
Yes.
So let's say I had a house in Florida, and thank God my property that I own was untouched. Okay. But let's just pretend that the property I own was destroyed in the hurricane or very damaged. What do you do? So then the insurance company says, hey, this is what we're going to give you to rebuild or blah, blah, blah. What would be your job then as an insurance adjuster?
So we can do a lot of different things and come in at a lot of different steps when it comes to the insurance claim process. Some of my clients are business owners and very affluent people. So they might not be able to handle the insurance claim process because they're really busy. So if they have an issue with an insurance claim on their business or their property, they'll contact us, have us open the insurance claim for them and get going from the beginning. We'll do an inspection, an estimate, meet with their adjusters, put together their folders, their files, and begin negotiating their process. There's other people that may have already filed an insurance claim, and they're just not happy with the results or the determination by the insurance company. And they'll bring us in during the claims process where we're not opening the claim themselves, just kind of picking up the mixed pieces, the things that fell to the ground, putting all the puzzle together, and then trying to negotiate the insurance claim. So there's two avenues that you can take. Myself, I prefer to get in from the beginning when you need to open the insurance claim. That way I know it's done right. A lot of times people think that they can do things on their own. That's fine. Nobody tells you can't, but it makes the job a little bit harder when it comes to negotiating the claim once you've done that.
So this is interesting because I've never had an insurance claim. So I'm really glad to know that I could hire somebody to do that for me and get a better deal, essentially, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't make any promises either. I mean, there's times that I've worked with clients insured that there is no money to be gained. The insurance company did them justice. They did them right and they've paid them the right amount. But that's usually not the case.
So you're just, and I'm guessing you take a percentage of what you're gaining above and beyond.
Yeah. So we're paid on a contingency basis. And that varies from state to state and sometimes in emergency situations. So like in the state of Florida, If it is a insurance claim, let's just say you had a kitchen fire, cooking, wall catches on fire, your house gets a little bit of fire and smoke damage. That's not a state of emergency claim. That's a regular insurance claim where we can charge up to 20%. If you have a state of emergency, like a hurricane or a flooding warning, or the governor, like Governor DeSantis, he declares a state of emergency, there's a cap of 10% on the public adjuster fee. Now you can go to other states. Other states have no cap, like California. Some states have a 10% cap all the way through. It really depends on how the state sets up the payment plan, but we are paid on contingency. I don't know of a state that a public insurance adjuster can get money up front because it's advantageous for us to get you money. If you're paying us up front, we're not getting you anything, you're losing money. That's why they have us, to get you more money. Make sure you get a fair shake.
So what's the difference between private and public then?
So what they call an IA, which is an independent adjuster or an internal adjuster, works for your insurance company. So think of all the commercials you see on TV, all these people that sell auto insurance, home insurance, what have you, that are employees, and they work for those insurance companies. They come out and do the inspection, they come out and do whatever. A public insurance adjuster is not affiliated with an insurance company. Matter of fact, we're not allowed to have insurance company. We're not allowed to work for them. It's a felony. So we have to work for people individually, whereas we have to openly solicit, try to find clients, and then work with our clients and keep records and everything else like that, and advocate for our client without the insurance company's best interest involved. It's our client's best interest involved.
So basically, anybody that has an insurance claim that's a fairly substantial one should get an adjuster to handle it for them, because they're going to know. And in some cases, you can't get a better deal because they did the right thing. But at least they would know that, and it would be free in that case anyway, because you didn't get them any more money. So when you talk about your percentages, are you talking about percentage of the whole you're getting, or the percentage of what they were not going to get if they hadn't hired you?
So I get that question all the time. It's an awesome question. So we're paid on what we actually get the insured. So I'll give you an example. You have a house, you had a hurricane come through, you've had $100,000 worth of damage. You have a deductible, let's just say 10% deductible. That's kind of high, but let's just say 10% for easy math. That's $10,000 that you have to pay out of your pocket. We're not paid on your deductible because that's not money we got you from the insurance company. So now there's $90,000 left. Well, let's say you got 40 on your own. The insurance company said, yep, here you go. Here's a check for 40 grand, but you still need another 60. You hire me. I'm only paid on getting that money from the 60, not from the deductible, not from any money that you got before. So that way I can kind of, work for my money. Now that's not the same in every state. The state of Texas, you can be paid on the entire claim at a 10% ratio. So even if you got money before I got involved, I can get paid on the entire claim.
That's a good deal for the adjuster. So that's if somebody has not hired you at the very beginning, has gotten some cash, and then you are getting 10% of the extra cash you're bringing in.
Correct.
What about people that hire you at the very beginning? You're still getting 10% of the whole, correct?
Well, in that circumstance, like a hurricane, it would be 10%. If it's non-hurricane, it would be 20%. But again, it varies from state to state. So, it could be in Tennessee, it could be 15%. Oklahoma, it's 10%.
So I hate to say this, but it might be better for people to get their cash that they get first and then hire you.
Yes. Well, yes. In most circumstances, we call that what we call undisputed funds. The insurance company cuts you a check for what we call undisputed funds. You don't have enough to repair your windows, your roof, your kitchen, whatever the damage may be. You get a hold of us. Where it's advantageous for us to get involved is for busier, high-end clientele. I've worked with professional athletes. I've worked with television people on their insurance claims. And really, these people are so busy that they don't have time to sit and negotiate with the insurance company. And by law, this is a very interesting fact. By law, there's only 3 people that can negotiate with an insurance company. So it's not like you can have your administrative assistant do it. It has to either be the homeowner themselves, the property owner, because they have the contract, an attorney, which is an attorney. They can pretty much do what they need to do. And then you have a public insurance adjuster. Contractors can't do it. administrative assistant. You can't ask, I can't ask my mom, hey, mom, I'm too busy. Could you help me out? They're not allowed to do it.
Okay. That's the answer, is that they don't care. They'd rather just have it taken care of instead
Right.
of
And
fiddling around first. And then, but for people that are not rock stars or billionaires, it's probably better for them to get what they get first and then call you in and then get more, and they pay your percentage. That's a no-brainer right there. Right?
yes, exactly. And now if you're underpaid, I want to stress this too, that if the insurance company come back and says, well, I'll use that $100,000 example. If the insurance company comes back and says you have damages, but they don't equal higher than your deductible is 10 grand, the damages are only $9,000. Well, at that point, the insurance company's made their decision, and you might want to bring us in because they're not going to give you any more money. Even though it's under the deductible, they've still made a claims determination. And people think that that's a denial. It's not a denial. It's just that they're not giving you any money because they're telling you that the damages don't warrant them to give you any money based on the contract you have. And then you get us involved.
But you can go in and get the money anyway.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Now, what other secrets are there? What are some other things that people just don't know?
Well, we could do an entire segment just on secrets for the insurance industry. There's a lot of things, and a lot of law changes have come into place. I won't go over old rules because they really don't come into place anymore. But today, there's a lot of things. Let's say you're selling your home. Okay, you have a nice house on the beach, got hit with a hurricane, and it's paid off or almost paid off. Maybe you have a mortgage on it, and you want to get rid of it. You want to sell it, move to Ohio, wherever. You can do an insurance claim on that home while the house is processing to be served and to be sold. The process is still ongoing. But what you can do is ask, if you want to sell the home, let's say I'm selling you a house, you can buy the house from me at full price, but do a transfer of benefits to the new owner, and the new owner can get the insurance indemnity. Likewise, you can buy the house from me as is with all the damages, and I can also do a transfer of funds to you to just say, hey, here, Sean, here's $100,000, go move to Ohio, but I want you to surrender your insurance rights to me. Now you're also getting the insurance indemnity on top of what you bought the house, and you can fix it up and make it your own. That's a secret that most people don't know in the insurance industry.
Well, I didn't know that. And that is awesome, because then you're not waiting for something to happen. They want to buy the house. You want to sell it. No problem. Let's do this. I'll just transfer my insurance claim to you, and you can handle it, and everybody's happy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a contingency in the sale. It's called a contingency sale agreement with the insurance indemnity. It's an assignment of benefits for the insurance proceeds.
I find that when people know stuff, there's a way around everything. The more I speak with experts, I'm realizing that I should just know there's always a way around something. You just don't know what you don't know. Because it seems to me like every time I have a guest or every time I speak to some smart person or colleague or friend of mine, I'm thinking, wow, I never knew that. So I would have just assumed you can't do that. So I think it might just be smart for people to assume anything can be done if you just know the right person who knows how to get around stuff. Make sense?
Yeah, and legally, because there's stuff that you have to watch in insurance that, certain things can be really bad, and you can go to jail. I mean, you can go to prison for insurance fraud. So you want to make sure that the person you're working with, if they're a public insurance adjuster, is licensed, and you can verify that through the state portal, Department of Financial Services. You can type in my name, Sean Kling. You can see my license number, what my continuing education credits are, when my license is up for renewal, how long I've been doing it. Always do your research on the person that you're working with, and the insurance company will also do research. Like when I do an insurance claim, they kind of know who I am. I tell them the company, they have me in their database, a W-9 form, a tax form to prove who I am. They can look up my license. But you as a homeowner got to make sure that you're working with the person that's legal, or bad things can happen. This is when people forge checks, they can steal your money, and you get a lot of bad names out there. But as a licensed professional, I'm held up to a standard where if I break the law, I'm going to prison. There's no question. I'm going to jail. So I have to do the right thing.
Right. And I mean, that's for everything. You want to make sure the people that you're hiring, when it's something like a lawyer or an accountant, I mean, everybody that you're hiring, you want to do a little bit of due diligence. I mean, for sure, in the past, I think I've hired people and not done that, and they weren't not certified but they weren't great. If I'd
Right.
done a little bit more due diligence on those types of professionals. Okay, well, that's good to know. So everybody has to make sure that they do a search on the adjuster. Now, so you're a public adjuster, right?
Correct. Yes.
But then you said something about private adjusters.
Well, a public adjuster is a private adjuster. They can work for you
Yeah.
privately. You have what they call an independent adjuster, which is called an IA. An IA works for the insurance company. So you have two types of adjusters. You have what you're calling a private is basically a public adjuster. You hire me privately. Then you have an independent adjuster or a field adjuster. They work directly for State Farm, Allstate, USAA, name any insurance company. They have field agents and internal adjusters that handle their claims process.
Mm. So how did you get into all this? What made you this adjusting guy?
Oh, well, boy, what a life story we got here. Well, the 30,000 mile view is I used to work in safety. I owned a safety consulting business for a number of years, did site audits, built safety teams for construction companies, for manufacturing facilities, and dealt a lot with insurance, especially workers' compensation, people that got injured on the job, helped do investigations, provided documentation, et cetera. And about 8 years ago, I had gone through a nasty divorce years before. And about 8 years ago, my brother, who is a first party property attorney, that's basically that one guy in Florida everybody hires for sinkholes. Like he's known throughout the state as the sinkhole litigation attorney. He's like amazing at it. He's got like 20 years under his belt. He called me up and he said, "Hey, you ever think about getting into insurance adjusting?" I'm like, yeah, no, I didn't really think much about it. I said, "Sure." So he brought me down and I teamed up with a company during Hurricane Michael in 2018, which was a Category 5 hurricane in the Panhandle. And when I walked around that hurricane and saw it, and it looked like Berlin in 1945. I mean, there was devastation and this eerie silence with the wind and no people around. I knew I was onto something. And I spent a lot of time with my brother, spent a lot of time with other public adjusters. My mentor taught me a lot, plus a lot of other people that I've met along the way. And I just kind of picked up a lot of knowledge. And my mind is like a sponge when I'm into something. So I stayed the course, went on the business for myself in 2019, and have been doing my own thing ever since.
And what were you doing before that?
I did safety consulting. I also worked in, believe it or not, I worked in television and film. I was a historical consultant for many, many movies. I've worked with Bruce Willis, James McAvoy, Samuel L. Jackson. I've worked on some major motion pictures as props and wardrobe, historical consultant, anything that was military, police, World War II, the Civil War, you name it. I helped them come up with the proper uniforms and the vehicles and the guns and the set design and all that stuff. Plus, I had a safety and consulting company. I'm a man of many hats.
That's interesting. So what made you the guy that had that knowledge to be a film consultant for historical dramas and costume?
I actually fell into it. My grandfather was an avid collector, God rest his soul. He was an avid collector of Native American items. He had collected them for a majority of his life. And when he passed away, my grandmother gave me a lot of his belongings. And she said, "Hey, Pop would have wanted you to have this. You're the only person that appreciated history." Because I went to night school for history, was always a big history geek. And sometime around 2012, 2011, I got a call from a guy named Tim that I don't even know how he got my number. He said, "Hey, we're shooting this movie about the Underground Railway in Pennsylvania, and we heard you have a lot of historical memorabilia." Well, since my grandfather had died, I had built a collection. I had like close to 12 restored World War II vehicles, half tracks, Jeeps. I had a whole warehouse full of uniforms and guns and things. And I went out and did this Underground Railway movie with them as in an independent. And the word spread that, hey, this is the guy in the Philadelphia area, that's where I was living at the time, that you can hire for films. So next thing you know, I was just booked like crazy. People were calling me up, "Hey, can you do police uniforms? Can you do SWAT team uniforms? Can you?" I even worked on a Star Wars film. I mean, like I've done a lot of things, and it snowballed from there. And then when I got divorced, I had to sell a lot of the stuff, but I still kept it doing it on a smaller scale.
Interesting that your dad had that stuff, and you're a film. And why did you have so many vehicles? You just collected them, or did you actually drive them at some point?
Oh, they were all drivable vehicles. They weren't just static. They were all fully restored, um, armor plated. I mean, you name it. You see it in a World War II movie, I had it. And I had some Vietnam era
Mm,
stuff as well. I just, when I get into something, I become obsessed with this one thing because there's so much to learn and I want to share my knowledge with people. And I watch too many historical movies, or when I was doing safety, I watched too many people mess up, or even insurance adjusting. And I want to teach people. I want to show them what's right, what's wrong, and it aggravates me when I see things are not correct. And I guess
mm,
that's a little bit of my OCD kicking in, but I like to make sure that things are correct for people and that they're
mm.
not driving a 1950s car in a movie that's in the
Or
1930s.
that actually drives me crazy too. I noticed that stuff because I was a filmmaker. And the funny thing, I'm listening to your story. I have a similar strange story. When I was when I first started my career, I was a fashion designer. And then I moved to Melbourne because I grew up in Australia. And I thought, oh, why don't I do wardrobe? So, they saw that I'd worked in fashion and I had, a degree in fashion. So I very easily got this kind of temp work in wardrobe in Australia because there weren't that many that had, my background. They sure. So at first I was just like dressing people for like, the show Neighbors. Like I'd
Hmm.
be just basically getting the outfit somebody else had and just making sure it would look good and they looked good to go on. But then I got a call from a small production company saying, we're looking for a wardrobe person to do a war film. And I thought, okay, sure. I was like 23 and I said, sure, no problem. So I go and it's this very low budget film about this very specific Australian platoon that fought in some like island, like in the islands, like near Burma or something. And it
Papua
was
New Guinea.
something like,
A lot of
yes,
Australians fought in Papua
actually,
New Guinea.
that was it. And it was a very specific story of this platoon. And it was just, and they said, we need, you to get, it was probably 35 uniforms or so. And then there was some officer stuff. And I said, sure. I didn't know what I was saying sure to. I just said, yes. So, and they said, okay, so this is the thing. The budget is $1,500. I said, oh, okay. And I just said yes. I thought, what? And, that was 1,500 Australian dollars. This is now like, 1988, I want to say, something like that. Or maybe 89. No, 88 probably. And I said, oh, sure. And then I went and they said, yeah, so here's the costume place. And of course I go to the costume place and it's like $10 a day for one pair of boots. And I thought, oh my goodness, I wouldn't even be able to afford the boots for one day for this shoot because like a 3-week shoot. So it's like, I think it was 21 days or something. And I thought, what am I going to do? And I thought, okay, what am I going to do? But they just basically threw it at me. Okay. And they
Hmm.
knew it was a huge issue, but I stepped up there and they just thought, she's going to have to do it. Now, somehow they realized that there was something in me that I would figure it out. Okay. The
Hmm.
fact that I could make their whole production go under was astounding to me when I think about it. So, or they'd have to get more funds. So I thought, what do I do? And I thought, I know, I'll call the army. So I call the army and I say, hello, we're doing this film about Australian soldiers. And we have a very tiny budget. And I was wondering if I could just maybe borrow some uniforms and modify them a little. And the guy says, sure, come on in. So I drive to the army supplies on the barracks and this guy, and he goes, okay, take whatever you want. And he said, now listen carefully. You can do whatever you want just so you bring that piece of fabric back in some way, shape, or form. Got it?
Hmm.
So I could, because they were wearing shorts, like Bermuda shorts. So I
Yep.
could cut them all. And he said, just so something comes back, we're good. So I got all these boots, socks. I had to modify everything. I had to make my own emblems because I'm like you. I did them myself,
Yep.
modify everything. And then I had to get maybe a couple guns and a few hats and, whatever. So we did the whole film. And when it ended, I said, here's the money back. And I gave them something like $1,000 back. And they were just like, the woman said, you are unbelievable. But when I drove in the van and I had these piles of uniforms, their faces dropped. They said, what did you do? I said, I went to the army. And they were like, okay, we called the army. And they said, no. And I said, you're not me. So that was my foray into being a wardrobe person for a whole, I wasn't an expert like you. I had to study the whole
There's
thing. And
so many ways to
yeah.
cheat doing that. Like when we did
Mm,
the Underground Railway movie, it was very, very low budget. I mean, very low budget. And, I had a bunch of uniforms and wardrobe and stuff, and the director was very, very difficult. So what I used to do is I used to tell the extras when they were coming on, this is what I need you to bring tomorrow. a white
Mm.
dress shirt or a pair of dicky pants or something, because they're far enough in the back that you can't see them. And then you doctor up these shirts and these pants and stuff that they're far enough in the back that they're not getting close up time. And I learned that also, like when you're doing an Underground Railway movie, you have a lot of slaves. Well, a lot of slaves didn't have clothes, so you can have men go shirtless throughout it. So that saves you on the shirt, unless they have tattoos or something. But then that's just the makeup department splashing a little dirt or something on their chest to make it look like they're working in a field. And when I did war movies, it was the same thing. We did a movie called Kilroy's Last Patrol, which took place in Germany in April of 1945, and it was about the Volkssturm, which was the old men and young kids that fought at the end of World War II for the Germans. And we cast a bunch of older men. We had a couple younger high school kids, or they looked about high school, maybe been 18, and they had to fight this American patrol. And we really didn't have a lot of gear for Volkssturm. So I went and I said, hey, if you look at photos at the end of World War II, these people were wearing civilian clothes with just an armband that said Volkssturm. So I got an idea. I told a lot of these guys, especially the older guys, hey, you got any corduroy pants? Do you have any, vests at home, dress vests? They're like, yeah. And they all showed up wearing this stuff. And then we would put German helmets on them, give them old World War I rifles, and they looked spectacular. But you cut the corners as best you could.
Yeah, that's what I did. I cut the corner. It was so stressful, though. It was very stressful that I thought, oh, I could ruin this whole production. I don't know. I don't know what they would have done. They had run out of money, and they just thought, let's have this 23-year-old figure it out.
Independent films are like that.
Yeah, they were just astounded that I managed that. So, what's next for you? I know that you also coach people. What's your passion? What's next for Sean?
My passion is, I'm getting into coaching, business and speaking, and meeting with companies, especially medium-sized companies. I don't mind working with large-sized companies. I've worked with them in the past, like Boeing and Merck, Sharp and Dome and stuff. But I tend to feel that the medium-sized companies are more my forte. These are people that are looking to get over a cusp of where they're at, and they've been around long enough to know what's good, what's not good, get a good feel for me. So I'll be doing, want to be doing a lot of that. And then also, I'm in the process of building a media company. I have several successful YouTube channels right now, travel channels, sleep meditation channels, things of that nature. We're going to be putting together a history channel and a science channel. And we're going to be building a studio eventually, probably within the next year in the Tampa Bay area, that we're going to be doing this stuff as well as the speaking. I'm a man of many hats, and I don't like to put everything in one basket. Master of all. I mean, what do they call it? What do they say? Jack of all trades, master of none. That's me. Because you don't want to put everything in one basket. You want to make sure that you're getting multiple streams of income, but also enjoying what you're doing. I enjoy being an insurance adjuster, but at a certain point, it's very stressful, and it's time for a switch of gears. I'll never give up that license. I'll never give up the business, but my niche clientele is now 7-figure entrepreneurs. I don't really want to, it's not to take away from small homeowners. There are people to help them, but at my point in my career, I want to work with and have been working with people that really want to utilize my services to the max.
Right. And create your media empire. And I remember you were telling me you have a travel show. Okay. Well, for all Sean, it will be in the show notes. Sean, thank you so much for turning up. Before we part, what is one philosophy or mindset that you'd like to share with people?
Do with what you have where you are, because tomorrow isn't promised. There's the graveyards full of people with empty dreams that never got to fulfill their life. So ask that girl out, take that vacation, buy that luxury car if you want, live your life. And that's what I've been doing for the past few years. Don't be afraid to take that chance.
Awesome. And don't be afraid also to invest in starting a business or something.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Well, that's been fantastic to have you. And I've learned a lot. I hope everybody else did. Thank you for showing up. If you enjoyed this, why not write a review? Why not share this with other people? And we'll see you on the next one. You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact.